Publication, any genealogy publications? Anybody? Okay. Let me change this to 100%. How many of you all are going to be, you plan to publish a book of your family history or something? Or you got a couple? Maybe you never thought about doing it, but you might. So this is an important technique for when you have to scan images out of a newspaper. Okay, so here's a picture. Okay, it's kind of small. I got that from an obituary at a newspaper. Okay, and we're going to call moire 1, and I'm going to scan it just as is. Okay, and then we're going to look at it. Any questions? Yes.
My question doesn't have to do with newspaper, which I'm interested in, but I have some like 60-year-old pictures that came from a photography studio. They're colored, but when I scan them, I think they end up kind of similar to this. They're like all holy. They look like a nice picture, but then they don't scan well.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you see her, it looks like she's got a checkered pattern in there. Maybe this is what you're having, something similar to this. It's like a swirly pattern. Now when you zoom in close, it changes. See, now it looks like a grid on her, right? Now the grid's gone. Okay? And it changes as you zoom out. That doesn't look so pretty. And it generally will print like that. So the way to overcome that, in your scanner, every scanner has this. Every scanner software has something called descreening. A descreening filter. Okay, mine happens to be down here. And sometimes you have to turn on the advanced or expert mode of your scanner software, because a lot of scanner software has what's called expert mode or advanced mode or custom mode. And change your descreening to the media that you're scanning from. So this is newspaper, right? So change it to newspaper. If it's from a magazine, do a magazine. If it's from a book or a print, do it from 175. And print means a fine print, like an art print. Okay? Now watch this. Moire 2. Okay. Sorry, I spent too much time in that first segment there. Just not enough time. I did say it would be tough for me to squeeze it in, but I think I could do it. Okay. All right, so let's get moire 2 open, and we can put them side by side. Now, the little slight disadvantage is one is a little fuzzier than the other, but when you zoom out, there's no weird artifacts, there's no moire, there's no patterns, okay? But when you go to this one, and as you're zooming out, you're seeing the patterns. And it's going to print like that, okay? And maybe when you print it, it's fine. But if it doesn't look good, then you've got to scan it with a descreening filter, okay? All right? Any questions before I go to the next thing? Yes, go ahead.
Unfortunately, I have a lot of those that are already.
Yep.
Is there anything you can do with them once they are like that?
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because I was about to skip that. Okay, so one way to solve it is to photograph the original, to take a picture of it with a digital camera, and then use that as your source. Okay, try that. If you have the camera and you can actually take a picture of it and it be sharp. You know, you have to have a decent digital camera to do that. Okay, but then the other way is, let me crop it. Okay, it is nope, didn't crop that right. I'm going to crop it a little bit more. And the reason why I'm cropping like this is so I'm being real crude with it. I just don't want little nasty surprises to pop up and I have to do it again. Okay. Okay. So the solution. Okay. Come on. Okay, the solution is to go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And yeah, did I get that? Sorry, let me just, okay, yeah. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, this is not on your handout. And move the slider over just a little bit until you lose the swirlies, the moire, and until you get to the point where, wow, I'm really starting to lose detail. Okay? All right? That's the way to get around it. And that's kind of what your scanner does. But the scanner is a little, in my opinion, is a little more accurate with the descreening. Okay? And you might have to do things like get what's called the burn tool or the dodge tool and put a low exposure setting up here. I'd say like 8%. And you might need to burn the shadows in a little bit, like where the eyes are, to help that detail pop out a little better. So you sculpt it a little bit, get her mouth here, to help define the edges, okay? So here I'll go before. So let's go before, after. See, I helped the detail a little bit around the face. So you might have to help it a little bit more after you do that. But that's how I would do it. And that says I'm out of time, but my watch says I got 7 minutes. Okay. Okay. Okay, color correction for publications. I really wanted to get to this. Okay, so nobody here works on any volunteers with any quarterlies or newsletters or anything? Paul does. Okay, okay. Let's do this. Well, you might need to, so let's talk about it. Did you ever notice when you look at a quarterly or a newsletter or a book and it's done by volunteers, not necessarily people who can afford to pay a fancy designer and printer, that sometimes the pictures are too dark or they're too light? Okay, this is how you solve that. Most of them are black and white, and that's what we're going to focus on. And most of them are on plain, uncoated white paper, kind of like cheap paper, okay? So what I'll do, let me throw this into grayscale. In your handout, on the third handout, I have something called using the info tool, okay? And it's what it is in Photoshop, it's a little eyedropper icon right here. Eyedropper tool. It's called eyedropper tool, okay? And what you do, the reason why those pictures aren't looking good is because the shadows and the highlights, the dark areas and the light areas in the photo are not corrected properly. And you can correct it properly if you use this tool properly. So when I use this tool, I have to make sure that what's called the info palette is showing up. The info palette. And notice when I run my mouse pointer over the dark area, that info palette at the top right corner says 95%. Let me show you. I just made a sampler in there. See? That area is 93%. Okay? When you're printing on the regular plain paper like this, that's too dark. That's too dark. Now we go into the white area. I shift click it, and I see I got 21% black. That means there's 21% of black ink, gray color in that area. Okay? That's too much. Okay? It's too much. It should be near zero. Okay?